All right, special Sleepers podcast episode here with a very special guest. That would be TJ Power, one of the most highly sought after recruits in the entire country. We've also got Riley Davis here, who, Riley, I don't know if I can call you one of the most highly sought after writers in the country. Maybe that's
might be a bit of a stretch, but I'll take the compliment, Greg. I'll take it.
I mean, you played point guard on this. You threw TJ our way, which is greatly appreciated. So, no, Riley, I think if people are listening to this, most people should know Riley. We consider him like the Sleepers ACC correspondent. So we'll get into why maybe that might make sense with TJ on this call as well. But first of all, just super excited to have you here, TJ. I mean, I've been a fan of your game for a while, watching you come through the ranks here and hearing about how awesome you were at Peach Jam. So we work with Jeff Goodman. I think you're Jeff Goodman's favorite player in the country. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's my guy. I think it's fair to say.
I think it's fair to say too.
Wait, I need to know though. Is that the greatest accomplishment? Like, do you go around saying like, "Hey, do you know that I'm Jeff Goodman's favorite player"? Like, is that something you're taking pride in?
I've made it now. So now that I'm Jeff Goodman's favorite player.
Hey, if you heard him rave about Shaedon Sharpe this time last year, I mean, being Jeff's favorite player, it was pretty high praise with how he went to bat for Shaedon, said he'd be better than Zion. So, maybe Jeff will say that in a couple Field of 68 podcasts, start talking about TJ Power being greater than Zion at the next level. So,
yeah,
you never know how he might take that.
Yeah, he might. Mm-hmm.
Long way to go. But so I think he was already in love with you before this, but if there was a moment for Jeff to really fall in love and like tell everyone else in his life to fall in love with you too, it seems like that was Peach Jam. So talk us through what that experience was like. Obviously you played really, really well, but how'd it go at Peach Jam for you this year?
It went pretty good. I mean, we were a team that kind of struggled in most sessions, but we had our core guys healthy down at Peach Jam and we put together a few wins, and I kind of complimented that with some good playing. So it felt good to go out like that, AU career, AU season the whole summer, and how crazy it's been. Like the most important thing has always been getting some wins. So that was great. But no, it felt good. Like there's not an environment like that, I don't think, in AU basketball. Like Peach Jam is really, you can perform there, you get pretty certified. So it was cool to kind of perform like that in front of all those coaches and having fans back this year was cool. Like I played in it last year, and to be honest, like it was kind of a miserable experience, the whole thing. Just people were getting COVID and I was stuck in a hotel for about 2 weeks. But this year it's just a vibrant like place in there, and it's cool to kind of be in that setting.
For sure. And even I think some of our listeners might know this, but like Peach Jam wasn't quite even when you first blew up. I know you played pretty well in the Kansas City, the showcase that happened a few weeks earlier, but that was when I think you started popping up more on the national radar with the UCLA offer coming, the Carolina offer coming, and the Duke offer. But how have you just processed it all going like kind of this rapid rise throughout this summer? What's kind of your mindset been like as you've seen the offers come in and just more notoriety on your name?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Like you said, after Kansas City, things kind of went to a new level as far as like the brand of the school that was recruiting me. But like to be clear, for me, it was like I've been recruited for a while by some really, really good schools, and I think from the outside, people see like the new offers, and it's like taking it to a new level. But I've had a lot of good relationships with a lot of schools that have been on me for a while, but I'd be lying if I said like when those stuff come in, like you don't get a little bit giddy and like the people around you, and it's just like an exciting time for my family, and my friends are super supportive and stuff like that. So that's helped me handle it. I think like sometimes kids are left alone in this process, but I've been lucky enough to have a lot of good coaches and good family and support like system around me, and it helps balance it out and bouncing ideas off people and things like that. But it's definitely kind of like dream come true type stuff. But
I'm glad you kept it real on getting the big offers and feeling a little giddy about that, because people try to act like it's big. What I'm saying? Getting a big time offer is getting a big time offer, whether you're a big time player like yourself or not. Obviously, we're familiar with your game. I mean, I think you had the ability to stretch the floor, do a little bit of everything on the court. But for those who haven't watched you play before, what would you best describe your game and maybe some player comps that you could think of?
I would say the biggest thing is the balance that I play with. Like, I do a lot of things on the floor. And it's always been that way. Like I've always been a really gifted passer, and rebound the ball really well and play with a good motor, and can move well laterally. And I think like the thing that's kind of separated me this summer has been my shooting and my scoring. Like Kansas City, I shot the ball really well, and it kind of gave me new confidence, and I was able to carry that through. But like for people that haven't seen me, I would just say someone who's super versatile and balanced, like makes a lot of winning plays in different ways, but then can get hot and get in a rhythm and score a lot of points.
Yeah.
So this was good timing for this interview because you just announced your final 5 schools. We don't need to get too into the weeds of this. I don't know if you can tell us or not. I'm wearing a North Carolina hat. I'm not a North Carolina fan. That would be Riley Davis on this call. I was doing this in his honor, so I won't push you one way or the other. I can't promise that Riley won't do that, but
hey, I'll try not to, but no promises.
We'll see. We'll see. But for those that don't know, we had Virginia, we had Duke, we had North Carolina, we had the Iowa Hawkeyes, who I am a Big Ten guy, so maybe I'll steer you there potentially. And then Boston College. So obviously some of the Blue Bloods are on that list, 3 powerhouse ACC schools. How did you narrow it down to those 5? And then can we kind of go one by one through what stands out about why those 5 made your final cut?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, the process of kind of cutting it down is always difficult. Like I had a lot of really good options. So it's never easy. I had to make a lot of tough phone calls and, have some respectful conversations with coaches, and everyone was super supportive about, where I was headed. But I think like with those 5 schools, they're all kind of, unique in their own way. But at the same time, like the biggest thing for me has been relationships. And I have really good relationships with those coaches. Even some of the newer schools, like we've kind of like picked up running, and it's kind of natural, the conversation. So, and then I think the big thing was like utilizing my junior year visits. Like I used all 5, and I've seen all those schools, visited all those schools. So I felt comfortable with the coaches there and the people and the places. But I guess like going through them, like Duke, I visited there after Peach Jam, and, Coach Shire and I talked a lot. I think the young mindset that he has is easy to like, it's easy to have conversations with him about stuff. So that was really cool. And we talked about how I could be used in different ways. And obviously, they're always loaded. So it's a little bit of a different like recruiting pitch as far as like playing time or like being the guy. It's like being able to play with some really good players, which I think I could do. And it would bring out a lot of good stuff in my game, and I could help other players bring out the good in them. So I think that's a pretty special opportunity. And then the brand of Duke obviously kind of speaks for itself. But and then UNC, same thing. I visited there after Peach Jam just for a day, and me and Coach Davis kind of hit it off. He's like a super down to earth guy and easy to talk to. And whole staff was kind of like that, like really light and personable, which was great. And I didn't get to see a workout while I was there. The team wasn't there, but obviously watching them play last year and how explosive they can be on offense, and they play really fast. So for a guy like me who can really score and put a lot of points up, I think that's a good match. And then same thing, the brand of UNC basketball. So and then Iowa, Coach McCaffrey's probably been on me the longest out of all these coaches, and we probably have the best relationship. That's my guy. I've had a couple friends go there and play there now. So
who are the friends, if you don't mind me asking?
Desante Bowen is gonna be a freshman guard there, and Big Josh is a center there. I think he'll be a junior.
I gotta ask, with Iowa, like, is their pitch just look at what Keegan Murray did, and this could be in 2 years? Because I think like it looks like Fran has just featured his like big man really the last 3 or 4 years, with going back to Garza before Keegan.
Yeah, no, the recent success has been cool to watch. I think the biggest thing that sticks out was the confidence that those guys play with. Like they're all developed under Coach McCaffrey, and you can tell like how much they blossom and really felt comfortable there. And that's like a big thing for me. Like they play a lot of freedom. And that's what Coach McCaffrey says in our conversations. Like he says that I would kill it there and have a green light and all that. But
do you have a brother, TJ?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a deal breaker for Fran. You got to have a brother. Yeah, he loves his brothers.
Got to be related to him or have a twin brother or something.
Right.
No, I'm just playing. But yeah, and then moving on, Virginia, me and Coach Bennett, pretty like-minded people, I think. Like, he's really into player development, and that's something that I pride myself on, like just getting better. And I was impressed with how they did that. They're super detailed on both ends of the floor. Obviously, one of the best defensive teams every year, but I love the school down there. It's beautiful, and they win a lot, which is top of my list. So one that
I could interject about Virginia too, just thinking like, even as a Carolina fan, Tony Bennett, that's someone who I like think the world of. And that's kind of like, I mean, I had a friend from high school who played at Virginia, and I would cheer for them when I was in school. And then they beat UNC 7 times in a row, and some of that like endearing nature of Virginia sort of wore off. But at the same time, I'm kind of envisioning you setting pin down screens and popping out for threes and like torturing Carolina while doing so. And I would see that vision that Tony's pitching you as well. But
yeah, no, it's definitely cool. And I mean, I think people get caught up in sometimes the pace of Virginia, but the way I look at it, like a lot of that comes with how well they play defense. Like, it's a product of that. Like, they're making teams play offense for a long time, and that's why they're getting less possessions. But when they get the ball, they're not doing anything too different than a lot of teams. Like, it's a pretty smooth offense. So I really like that. But
Riley, I got to interject quickly. I noticed you didn't chime in positively on the Duke section of this.
That would just be that would be disingenuous, Greg. And
sure. Okay, continue, TJ. I'm sorry to cut you off.
And then Boston College, obviously, second year coach in Coach Grant, but I kind of grew up. I have a lot of family ties to Boston College, so I've seen that place 1,000 times, and it's just a special opportunity, I think, to be able to play in the ACC that close to home and have all my family there supporting me, and the brand I can kind of build there. Obviously, the education of Boston College is really second to none. And then on the basketball side of things, like being able to be a big piece early on, and I've met some of the younger players there, and I really like them and how they think about things, and Coach Grant and what he's trying to build and the momentum around the program. So that was a big reason for me why I kept him in.
Yeah, from the outside looking in, like even the success of Boston College last year, though they didn't have much success, like you could tell that those players love playing for Coach Grant. And I think it was the ACC tournament last year where they made that little run. You could see that those guys just love playing for Coach Grant. So I see they kind of got some things going on over there. So you mentioned being a Boston kid and, being from Boston College. Like, was that your team growing up? Did you have a college basketball team growing up, or were you a fan of the college basketball? Or are you more into like NBA and Celtics and things like that?
Well, I was always a Celtics fan. But I mean, Boston College was what I was around the most. But honestly, like in a weird way, I was like a Syracuse fan growing up a little bit. And I've never talked to Syracuse, weirdly enough. They've never recruited me, but like I have family out there and stuff. And so like,
damn, Bayheim.
Yeah. I was like,
what are we doing here?
I was like really young, like back when they had like Michael Carter Williams, because he's from Massachusetts too. So that was cool. But I've said this before, like, and not that this has a huge impact, but like I honestly, like growing up, liked UVA and I liked Duke and the players they had. Like I just liked how UVA played, and like in church league we'd play like the pack line defense and stuff after like 20 minutes. So our coach would like show us those games and stuff. And then Duke was kind of like, I was one of those like high school basketball nerds where like I'd pick like a couple of favorite players, and like if they're in town I'd go watch them, and then like most of them would go to Duke, so I'd kind of follow them through that. But
pack line defense in church league?
Yeah, well, we won the championship. We were nasty.
When were you playing church league, and why? Like, weren't you here for church league?
Yeah, it was in Worcester when I was younger, but it was a bunch of like fourth graders playing pack line.
Oh man, that'd be menacing to be a fourth grader going against a pack line defense.
Bro, most fourth graders can't even like dribble without looking at the ball.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm, I'm just laughing at Riley saying you're too good for church league when 2 hours ago he texted me that he was going to go hoop against some Bible study students that are 10 years younger than him. So I don't want to hear that from Riley Davis right now. Okay.
Hey, I'm not the one being recruited by Carolina and Duke, so I'm not too good for church league.
This is true. This is true. So I just got to throw this out here. It's going to sound funny, but like, do you realize how cool of a name you have? Like TJ Power, like that man sounds like a future 10-time NBA All-Star. And do you feel any pressure to live up to the fact that you have such a cool name?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, my first name's Thomas, my middle name's James. That's the boring side of it, but TJ Power is definitely cooler. Like my cousin's name is Maximum. That's his legal name. So
Maximum Power?
Yeah, so that's cool.
Can Maximum hoop?
He's like, I forget how old he is. He's really young, but yeah, he can hoop.
All right, that's tough.
But yeah, it's definitely cool. Like seeing Power on the back of a jersey is a cool look. So I've been doing my best to live up to it.
I mean, you've got to already be in the running in the future to be the best TJ to ever play basketball. Like TJ McConnell, TJ Ford right now, maybe I think are probably the top two. Like, I got to think you're on a trajectory to exceed them. Not to throw pressure on you, but just saying.
Yeah, no pressure. No, yeah, it's definitely a pretty unique name. So it's going to be cool. I honestly, like I've thought about with like some of the NIL stuff, like using my last name is kind of cool, Power, and can be used pretty creatively. So.
Yeah. Speaking of NIL, like something that we were all curious about, just seeing you keep a pretty low profile on social media. I know you're not on Instagram or anything, but just with like so many players, a lot of whom are your age, and of course when you get into college, like using that for NIL would you say like what's kind of your view towards social media, and even like how that would tie into NIL? Is that something that you're thinking much about right now, or you sort of thinking about NIL more as you like get to college and everything?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't have a problem with social media. It's just it wasn't for me. Like at some point, I think last fall, I just kind of decided to step off it for a second and kind of limit distractions and focus in on some stuff. And you know, it's worked out for me. So I don't see myself like really getting back to it anytime soon. But I do have those thoughts in the back of my mind as far as like once I get to a college, it's going to be more of a business thing where like I might need it. So that's something I'll kind of approach when I get down the road. But I wouldn't say I'm like trying to build my brand right now as some other kids do. It's like basketball's always been the priority, and it will continue to be that. So it's just weird because like a few years ago, like half the stuff was illegal, and now it's like everyone's doing it in high school. So I'm still adjusting. I think it's as well as everyone else, but.
I respect it. I know Powerade is probably biting at the bit right now to get you your official flavor once you commit to a school. So yeah, they'll probably get somebody to run your IG once you get up there. You ain't got to even look at it. They'll take your fire picks and throw them up there with a nice little caption, and you'll keep it moving.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I mean. That's what I was talking about. My last name, people are gonna run wild with that. So.
All right, I have a question for Carter, not to move away from TJ here, but Carter, I just want to know, we play this game a lot, you and I, on our podcast here. If you had the exact final five that TJ has, what school are you committing to?
That's tough because all the schools he mentioned, he fits into all of them. So it's not a.
Yeah, but you're not TJ Power in this.
Oh, I'm me?
You're you. Yes. Who are you committing?
I'm a diva, so I'm probably going to like Duke or something. I need all brand deals. I need the sweet little brotherhood graphic. I need all that. But I'm high maintenance though. That's me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, UNC develops big men though, and that's you would have been like a 3-4 year guy.
But whoa, relax. First of all, let's relax. First of all, and second of all, I'm too immature. Like if someone said Hubert, I would have laughed during practice because Hubert's a funny name. Respect to Coach Davis, respect to Hubert Davis, but Hubert's a funny name. So like I would chuckle behind his back. Probably had to run some line sprints or something like that. But that's just who I am as a player.
So, all right, to wrap this up, because TJ's been so generous to give us 20 minutes of his time here. First of all, thank you for that. So if everything you said about the 5 schools, obviously you love all of them. The relationships seem like a massive factor there with the coaching staff. What is like a factor to you that is going to jump out that might end up sort of leaning you to a decision? Because I go back to, I grew up playing like NCAA basketball 10 on Xbox 360. That's how old I am. And I never knew whether to throw my recruiting juice on like playing time or coaching profile or coach prestige, all that. What's the number one factor besides relationship that you will end up caring about that could help lead you to one of these schools?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, I would say. Like when you get to this level with these schools, a lot of things cancel out. Like they all have great facilities, they all have a lot of resources. So it's, I mean, those things are there, but like I said, relationships are big. Play style is big, but I'd say the number one thing is just my gut feeling. Like I've always trusted my gut with my decisions, and it's led me down some good paths. So, and you know, you get feelings like about these schools, and they change sometimes when you do your homework a little bit more. But at the end of the day, like when it comes to my decision time, what I feel my gut, I'm gonna go with. And I know that might seem kind of corny or vague, but that's kind of the only thing that can help you at that point. So
that's refreshing, honestly.
Yeah,
it's refreshing to hear.
Not corny at all. Carter and I have followed our guts for 30 years, and here we are podcasting about college basketball. We can make it big. We're a shining example of that. Do you have any sort of timeline? I know you just dropped the Final 5, but are you kind of waiting it out, or do you have a date-ish in mind?
I don't have a date right now. I'm aiming for like end of September. I mean, it gets a little tricky because like schools can come back out to your school like September 9th or something. So I know a lot of kids might do it before to avoid like some extra in-person contact with the school that you might not go to. So, but for me, it's like I'm still taking my time a little bit, and I'm pretty thorough in everything. Like whether it's on visits, I kind of dissect stuff. Like I watch a lot of like full games in these schools and things like that. So it's just like that's the stage I'm in right now. And like I've done the visits, you know, maybe I'll go back out to a couple schools. I mean, I have 5 that I could use if I needed to. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to kind of making a decision and getting the burden off and just going back to hooping without thinking about it. So
yeah,
he said he watches full games. I know Riley's in the Zoom chat right now, sending them to North Carolina versus Duke last year full game
film.
Since you want to watch a couple games, here's a couple I might recommend.
No, I am curious though. Like when you do watch full games, like what exactly are you looking at and studying?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of schools will send you highlights and stuff, and I mean that stuff's helpful to a certain point. But I think like basketball players get a certain instinct about stuff when they watch full games and see the whole thing, the good and the bad. So it's like kind of erasing some of the stereotypes that some schools might get, like people who say Virginia's too slow. It's like I'm not going to believe that off face value. Like I'm going to go watch the game and kind of get a feel for myself. Or like, you know, people will say stuff about other schools like Boston College, like Coach Grant's first year. It's like you kind of got to see what he's doing in those games, because it's not a lot. It's a pretty small sample size. And same with Coach Davis. I mean, obviously he had a great year, so there's not much to dissect there. But it's just stuff like that. Like I said, it's gonna be a gut feeling, but it's gonna be an educated gut feeling. Like I'm gonna have stuff that's pushing me a certain way in my gut, and that's from like the research that I do. So.
Well, I love hearing more about your approach. You certainly have a ton of great options ahead of you. I think college basketball fans everywhere are excited to see you get to the next level. So we'll be following. Thank you for giving us the time. We really appreciate it. And we're rooting for you. Excited to hear your final decision at some point.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.